Have you ever wondered about the consequences of a single political decision that can ripple through decades? Let's delve into such a tale. An intriguing saga of an uninhabited island named Katchatheevu. Nestled in the Palk Strait between India and Sri Lanka, this tiny island has been the epicenter of a long-standing dispute. In the year 1974, India's then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi made a decision that would reverberate through the decades. She ceded Katchatheevu Island to Sri Lanka, a move that was made without the approval of the parliament. For Indian fishermen, this became a bone of contention, a disputed territory where their rights were suddenly revoked. This decision, made half a century ago, sparked a controversy that has yet to be settled. Indeed, the echoes of this decision can still be heard today, nearly 50 years later. The year is 1974, a time of political turmoil and decision-making. Picture this. The world was reshaping itself in countless ways. And amidst this global transformation, an event occurred that would set in motion a dispute that lasts to this day. India's then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi made a decision that would reverberate through the decades. She ceded Katchatheevu, an uninhabited island nestled in the Palk Strait between India and Sri Lanka, to the latter. The decision was made without the consent or approval of the Indian Parliament, a move that was and remains highly controversial. You see, Katchatheevu wasn't just an uninhabited island. For Indian fishermen, especially those hailing from the southern state of Tamil Nadu, this tiny piece of land was a traditional fishing ground, a place where they cast their nets and reeled in their livelihood. So, when the island was ceded to Sri Lanka, these fishermen were suddenly stripped of their age-old rights. Imagine their confusion, their frustration. One day, they're fishing in familiar waters, and the next, they're told that those waters are no longer theirs to fish. The cession of Katchatheevu, therefore, wasn't just about an island. It was about livelihoods, traditions, and a sense of belonging. The Indian government's unilateral decision to cede the island caused a ripple effect of discontent. The fishermen felt betrayed, their voices drowned out by the political machinations of the time. And this feeling of betrayal extended beyond the fishing community, reaching the corridors of power where many questioned the legality of the cession without parliamentary approval. This unilateral decision sparked a controversy that shows no signs of dying down even today. The cession of Katchatheevu remains a thorny issue, a controversial chapter in the shared history of India and Sri Lanka. It's a reminder of how decisions made in the past can shape the realities of the present, and influence the paths we tread in the future. As the dust settled on the decision, the implications began to unfold. The year was 1976, 2 years after the controversial cession of Katchatheevu. The international maritime boundary line was being delimited, a process that would drastically change the lives of Indian fishermen. This delimitation revoked the rights of Indian fishermen on Katchatheevu, an island that had once been a crucial part of their livelihood. Now they found themselves in a precarious situation, their rights to fish in the surrounding waters denied, and their fishing routes disrupted. This decision, made without their knowledge or consent, left them grappling with uncertainty and hardship. The aftermath was not just felt on the Indian side, but also echoed in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government, now with full control over the island, denied the rights of Indian fishermen on the island. They claimed that in exchange for Katchatheevu, they had given another island to India, a claim that did little to alleviate the difficulties faced by the Indian fishing community. The fishermen were now caught in a predicament, their livelihoods threatened, and their futures uncertain. The waters that had once freely given them sustenance were now barred to them. The impact was immediate and profound, affecting not just the fishermen, but their families and the communities that depended on them. The decision of 1974 continues to cast a long shadow over the Palk Strait. The fishermen, still grappling with the aftermath, are a testament to the far-reaching consequences of political decisions made without considering the lives of those most directly affected. This is the aftermath of the Katchatheevu cession, a chapter in history that remains painfully relevant to this day. The struggle of the Indian fishermen serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of political maneuvering. The impact of the decision made in 1974 continues to be felt by the Indian fishing community. The story of Katchatheevu is not just about a disputed island. It is a story of livelihoods disrupted, of rights denied, and of a community left to bear the brunt of a decision made decades ago. Fast forward to 2024, the controversy over Katchatheevu Island is still a hot topic. Imagine the scene. Indian Prime Minister Modi stands tall, his words echoing out to the masses. He sharply criticizes the Congress Party for their decision back in 1974, a decision that ceded Katchatheevu to Sri Lanka. His words slice through the air, a clear indication of the lingering dissatisfaction over the matter. But the controversy isn't just about political wrangling. Oh no, it cuts deeper than that. It's a matter of livelihood, of heritage, of identity. The Indian Tamils, for instance, they feel the sting of this controversy keenly. The cession of the island and the subsequent revocation of their fishing rights has left them in a precarious situation. Their voices, filled with concern and uncertainty, add another layer to this complex issue. So where does this leave us? It's clear that the path ahead isn't easy. It's a path that demands diplomatic efforts, a path that calls for open and honest dialogue. India and Sri Lanka will need to sit across from each other, not as adversaries, but as neighbors seeking to resolve a shared issue. The Katchatheevu Island controversy, a decades-long dispute, still awaits an amicable resolution. Let's rewind and look at the key points we've discussed. Katchatheevu Island, a bone of contention between India and Sri Lanka, was controversially ceded by India in 1974 without parliamentary approval. This decision has been a thorn in the side for Indian fishermen who lost their rights on the island following the 1976 maritime boundary delimitation. Today, the issue is still hotly debated, with Indian PM Modi recently criticizing the Congress Party for their past decision. In the grand tapestry of history, the Katchatheevu Island controversy serves as a stark reminder of the lasting impact of political decisions.